Nation's news leader. This is 13 Eyewitness News at 6.
There is still a lot left to be done in Iraq, but 7 Americans, once held as prisoners of war, are free tonight and now taking the long way home. And good evening, friends. I'm Dave Ward.
And I'm Shara Fryer. Those American soldiers were rescued by Marines this weekend. We have new video from the Department of Defense as they rode in a military plane, likely on their way to Kuwait. The 7 Americans looked and sounded good.
I'm happy that I'm going home. I love you, Marines!
We'll have live reports from Fort Bliss and Fort Hood in just a few minutes.
But first, a quick look at the latest in the war with Iraq. Another discovery of possible evidence of chemical weapons. 11 containers buried close to an artillery ammunition plant. And like past discoveries, these will have to be tested.
Fort Hood's 4th Infantry Division has crossed the border from Kuwait into Iraq. Now it's not clear whether they're heading to Baghdad or to northern Iraq. U.S. Central Command says all oil fields in Iraq are now within areas controlled by the U.S. coalition.
And U.S. Marines are now in control of what was believed to be the last stronghold of Saddam Hussein's regime, his hometown of Tikrit. While Major General Stanley McChrystal says the major combat in Iraq is essentially over, the fighting is still going on. As
of tonight, the Pentagon confirms 118 U.S. troops have been killed in the war, with 4 still missing in action. 31 British troops have been killed. Despite the success we've seen so far, those numbers may still go up.
There are still people doing very, very dangerous work. And I think different people will define it differently. At the end of the day, it's about the Iraqi people having their country back and the Iraqi people having an environment in which they can get that country up and running again.
Those 7 former prisoners of war are being treated and debriefed in Kuwait, and as we mentioned just a few moments ago, they're on their way home to their families here in the United States.
They say that they were moved to several different locations over the last few days, and at least one of the 7 was certain that they would be killed. But when U.S. Marines kicked in a door to rescue them, they said then they knew they would see their families again. And the people at their Texas Army post are just as anxious to see those rescued 7.
We have reporters both at Fort Hood and Fort Bliss, and we begin with Eyewitness News reporter Maya Shea with a story of a very happy wife. She is live at Fort Hood. Maya?
Indeed, Dave. Michelle Williams is overjoyed today. She says there are no words to describe her feelings, but she certainly tried it. She shared her heart's content to everyone who would listen. Obviously, major concerns here in the last 3 weeks as 2 of the Apache helicopter pilots were based out of Fort Hood, were held as POWs. But Michelle Williams says now she is overjoyed because she is finally able to tell her 2-year-old son that his dad is coming home. They say yellow ribbons stand for hope, American flags for patriotism. Today, Michelle Williams stands for all of that and more.
It was a great day, and I can't even express the feelings that I had yesterday and today, as well. As the days go on, I really don't think it's hit me quite yet that this is actually over, that the last 3 weeks have been, I can't even express how they have been.
On March 24th, her husband, Chief Warrant Officer David Williams' Apache helicopter went down. He and fellow pilot Ronald Young Jr. were paraded on Iraqi television.
And it was really difficult for me to find comfort in the things that I was doing, like the things that we take for granted day to day, he wasn't having. And so when I would sit down to eat or I would lay down to go to sleep, that's all I thought about is what he was going to be going through, and it was very, very difficult.
Michelle Williams says the 4th Brigade was like her family, and throughout the family's ordeal, there was never any doubt that her husband would be coming home.
We have an ethos in the military that we leave no one behind. And I had promised Michelle and the families that we would not leave Dave and Ron behind. And quite frankly, I was very pleased I was able to keep that promise.
After watching so much unfold on TV, a simple phone call yesterday inside her home made an even bigger impact.
It was great to hear him again, and he sounded good. He sounded strong, and that's all that mattered to me.
Now, with the community and a military family support, the reunion is almost complete.
Sheer joy. There was a burden lifted from my heart and from his family's heart, and it continues. I can't wait to see him. I think that's when it'll really, when I can have him back here with his family, it will be the best day.
Michelle says she doesn't know when that best day will come yet, but she will be ready whenever he comes home. And when I asked her earlier today how she could sum up the whole event, she says simply, he's my hero. We're live in Port Hood. Maya Shea, 13 Eyewitness News.
And from Baghdad, another image of war. U.S. troops working with a personal touch. Two brothers approached Special Forces soldiers asking for help for their sister, who's very sick with cancer. The medics gave her what medicine they could, and they offered comfort to her and her family. Well, there's still no hard evidence that Saddam Hussein is dead or alive.
But if he has survived, could he have changed the way he looks? Still ahead tonight, Christy Myers talks with a plastic surgeon about what could be done to change one of the best-known faces in the world.
And how the smoking ban in New York bars is off to a tragic start. One man is dead tonight.
You're watching ABC 13, Houston's news leader. Live with Dave Ward, Shara Pryor, Marvin Zindler, Ed Brandon, and Bob Allen. This is 13 Eyewitness News, Houston's news leader.